or Russia invading Ukraine, he said, we cannot afford to lose this gold mine that we have discovered in Ukraine. And he's going to explain this some more. Listen.
They're sitting on 10 to 12 trillion dollars of critical minerals in Ukraine. They could be the richest country in all of Europe. I don't want to give that money and those assets to Putin to share with China. If we help Ukraine now, they can become the best business partner we ever dreamed of. I don't want to give that money and those assets to Putin to share with China. If we help Ukraine now, they can become the best business partner we ever dreamed of.
Whenever America is involved in their lives, and he's going to explain more what the war is really about. Listen.
I don't want to give that money and those assets to Putin to share with China. If we help Ukraine now, they can become the best business partner we ever dreamed of. That 10 to 12 trillion dollars of critical mineral assets could be used by Ukraine and the West, not given to Putin and China. This is a very big deal how Ukraine ends. Let's help them win a war we can't afford to lose. Let's find a solution to this war, but they're sitting on a gold mine to give Putin 10 or 12 trillion dollars of critical minerals that he will share with China is ridiculous.
Ukraine is sitting on a gold is really about. It has nothing to do with helping others. And listen carefully.
Ukraine has become the war for unbelievable profits. The rate at which Ukraine is burning weapons is unbelievable. You know what else is unbelievable? The fact that no one seems to really be complaining. Because then, who will complain is the question. The countries that are supplying these weapons, some of their economies heavily depend on the sales made by the defense industry. So then why will they complain? What about the defense industry? Their revenue, of course, depends on the demand, on the orders coming in. So why will they complain? Now, such is the demand, such are the profits, and the race to deliver, that the global defense industry is rushing to hire. A survey has found that companies in the arms industry are recruiting at the fastest rate since the end of the Cold War. As per a Financial Times survey, American and European defense and aerospace companies are looking to hire thousands of people this year. U.S. contractors Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and General Dynamics alone have nearly 6,000 job openings. At least 10 companies are looking to increase their workforce by almost 10%. The biggest driver? Conflict. The Financial Times survey mentions Europe's missile champion, MBDA. The company is owned by BAE, Airbus and Leonardo. MBDA makes air-launched missiles Storm Shadow and Scalp. They have both been widely used in Ukraine. Now, MBDA plans to hire 2,600 people this year, 2,600. That's 17% of its current workforce of 15,000. How much profit do you think this company is even making, and why just the defense companies after all? The dealers also have become richer in the last 2 years. In Ukraine, arms dealers are exploiting the war. They are driving the price of weapons sky high. The cost of many weapons has risen almost six-fold since the start of the war itself. Take, for example, the Soviet-era 122 mm Grad rockets. They are designed to rain down on enemy positions. When Russia invaded Ukraine, dealers were selling these ammunitions for $900 a shell. Now the asking price is $6,000.
Unbelievable. Prices of weapons have gone. Brothers and sisters, Jesus must be at the door without a shadow of a doubt. Let's continue.
The price of 152 mm rounds for D-20 howitzers jumped from $1,200 to $5,727. The asking price for 125 mm tank ammunition has gone up from $1,200 to $7,420. What changed since the beginning of the war? The demand for these weapons. also the appetite to profit from the war. You see, the scope for profit is limitless. Analysts believe that to turn the tide of the war, Ukraine will need to spend more than what China spends on defense. China's defense budget, by the way, is $200 billion. $200 billion. Ukraine will need to spend 3 times the amount, or even 4 times. Also keep in mind that it is not just Ukraine that the orders for weapons are coming from. The war has nudged countries around the world to modernize their armies and to be war ready. Japan and Germany have significantly increased their defense budget. In December 2023, Japan's cabinet approved the country's largest ever defense budget. How much is that? $55.9 billion. Earlier this year, Germany said it could increase military spending to as much as 3.5% of the economic output. ICAN, or the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, says global spending on nuclear weapons has increased by 13%. In 2023, nuclear-armed countries spent a record $91.4 billion on their arsenal. The US, for that matter, spent $51.5 billion. China spent $11.9 billion. Russia spent $8.3 billion. Followed by the UK, which spent $8.1 billion on nuclear weapons in 2023. France spent $6.1 billion. These numbers tell a story. They tell you how Ukraine has become a war for unbelievable profits.
To stay up to speed with the latest news,
Jesus has to be at the door.